Hi, I'm Lee Schanz. I'm the good Lee's son. I've been a part of Big Woods Buck team now for a couple years, but I've been part of the Big Woods crew now for a little over 20 years. Really looking forward to showing you guys some footage of a nice buck I got last fall. I hope you folks enjoy it. I've been hunting now for a little over 20 years with a short break in there from Marine Corps, and I'm just really looking forward to getting home and being able to get back in the woods and hunt and share videos with you folks. So I found this spot earlier that year during the September moose hunt. I had set out some cameras and invested some time into scouting a spot for moose, and I'd found a lot of deer sign there. We spent quite a lot of time, probably 3 or 4 days actually, in the area that I ended up getting my deer. I actually called a nice bull in on the first Monday morning. We walked right in on a bull about 100 yards from where I shot this deer.
Easy, 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 easy. I think the way those tips point in, I think that's that right palm. He's pretty though. He's nice. Yeah, that right palm's beautiful.
We ended up getting, it was in a pretty good snow belt up there on Thanksgiving weekend. We were supposed to get a lot of snow up there, and I knew there was some deer up there, and I knew that there was going to be good track and snow, so I was chasing the snow. Yeah, I had a pretty good season. I guided the second and third week of deer season, and we saw some deer with the clients, and it's a great time to be out in the woods and experience the outdoors and interact with some deer, and I was just really excited to get out there and be the one carrying a gun. Yeah, so the end of the third week was my last day of guiding. I came back home, and there wasn't any snow anywhere reasonable to hunt on, so I was trying to catch up on my hunting to-do list, waiting for some snow. Thanksgiving night, spent with the family, catching up with the family, keeping an eye on the weather. I saw there was a good amount of snow coming through, and brought the family home, put the boys to bed, and jumped in the truck and drove about 3.5 hours north to make sure I had good track and snow. And so I drove through the night and ended up getting there really early in the morning. Got a couple hours of sleep and hopped out of the truck, and it was a full-on blizzard up there. And I hunted in an area where I tracked a wounded cow with Dad earlier that year, and I didn't have much luck cutting any fresh tracks. There's some older tracks in there. I found some really good buck sign, some really big buck sign, but the deer just weren't moving in that snow and those conditions. So I called it a day early. I wasn't feeling that great. I had a bit of a headache, probably from not getting any sleep the night before. I called it a night early and went back and had dinner and spent the night in the truck, and woke up ready to go the next morning. So for dinner that night, I grilled some steak and stuffed mushrooms, and had some of my mother's sour pickles on hand, and grilled dinner and made a cup of coffee and called it a night. So when it's not snowing too bad and the weather's not too bad, I'll usually cook on a Coleman stove in the back of the truck. But that day it was snowing bad enough and windy enough, I actually cooked on a little single burner in the front seat of the truck. I just lay my center console down and throw the fry pan on that and crack the windows, and I cook everything right there beside me. Yeah, so he came out pretty good. Yeah, pretty happy with him. That's my first try at a European mount, and he was nice and wide. I knew what I was shooting at when I saw him. I had a pretty good idea of what I was looking at. But yeah, I'm real happy with him. Ugh, nothing I'd pass on. So I think I was a little bit excited. I think I knew the deer wasn't going to be a 200-pounder. He was long. He was a long buck, and he had a nice rack, but he didn't look like he was 200 pounds to me. But I was like, man, I'd feel bad if I cut him up or lugged him out or left him in the woods and he was 200 pounds or that close, and the coyotes got a hold of him or I wasn't able to weigh him. So I decided it would be easier. It was a long ways back. It was 1.5 miles back in there, and like I said, the drifts were like 2.5 feet tall. And I knew it was going to be a good 4 or 5 hour drag by myself, and it would be hard work. So I decided I'd go back home and pick up the snowmobile and come back up with the snowmobile and pick up the buck that way. So I drove back home and texted my mother and told her I was gonna come pick up the snowmobile and let her know, let Dad know I'd be showing up. And I got back to camp, got back to home and the lodge, and Brian and Dad were there waiting for me and talked to them, note the story real quick. And I'd sent my little sister a picture of the deer, and she asked if I was going to go back up and get it that night, and I said yeah. She wanted to go with me, so she was there at the house waiting for me, and her and Dad hopped in the truck with me with a snowmobile, and we headed north, and we got up there pretty late and got back even later, but we got him out without any work. It was a lot more time, but it was a lot less work.
Just smoked a nice buck. Yeah, I got an old track. I got pictures of his track as soon as I picked it up. It was old, but I tracked into his bed and he jumped out of his bed. He's still kicking over there a little bit. I can see the trees moving. Better be ready in case he gets up again. I shot him right in the neck, though. I don't think he's moving. I mean, he was like 15 yards away when I got him the second time. As soon as he jumped out of his bed, I didn't have good enough reaction time to get a shot off. He's in this stuff, he's pretty thick. But I blew at him twice and gave him a good grunt. And it was enough. It stopped him. The wind is right in my back. I can't believe he didn't wind me again. I snuck up and I'll pace it off, but he couldn't have been more than 10 yards away. I looked up in front of me and saw him peek his head out around the tree a little bit, but I put it right on the center of his neck and gave him one. Yeah, it looked like he was outside his ears. I can't tell how big he was. I should have looked at his bed better, but I was hoping I was going to catch him. There's a cut up here, and I was hoping I was going to catch him before I hit the cut, but I thought if I hurried, I might catch him crossing that cut, so I was hurrying, moving pretty fast. So I didn't examine his bed good enough, and his track was too old for me to tell how big a buck he was, but when I just shot him, I could see, when he stuck his head out around the corner, I could see it looked like he was outside of his ears. But we'll go take a look at him, I guess. He was still running. I must have stopped him dead in his tracks with that grunt. Or he was just really curious what I was. I see a good Maine beam. Oh, there he is. Looks like a nice buck. Oh yeah, nice 8. Yeah, nice buck. I think it's the same track. Looks like it went around, milled around and that stuff and come up here. Boat tracks again. That's the same fucking bucket we tried yesterday, I'll bet you. They're going right up the same place again. We're gonna let him go. It's 3:30. And if he does the same thing he did yesterday, we're going to go up over the top of the mountain and then have to walk all the way back around the truck again. But I thought the way he was meandering around in there, I thought he was gonna bed down, but man, he picked some of the nastiest stuff to go through. It was unbelievable. We better get on it.
And we hadn't jumped him, but it was almost like he knew I was on him, because he went through some spots it didn't make any sense to go through. But he did. He stopped and fed on some old man's beard once, and fed a few times. And when he crossed the little twitch trail that we went in on, he headed up into a place that was just brutal. I'd been up in there, and it was 3:30 by then, and I'm like, we're just not going to get this buck. So yeah, you had to put your head down and just plow through the beech whips, and then when you get up on the top of it, it's steep, and then when you get up on the top, it's nothing but a fir and spruce. You can't get through that either. So we just got back down. We're eating dinner here at Schanz's Guide Service. My wife didn't tell me when I called her, but my son's supposed to show up anytime. I guess Stephen got a heck of a buck today. I had given him my 760 in 300 Savage. I'd put a skin of peep sight on it and sighted it in for him, and so he shot a buck with that, which will be good for the skin of peep sight thing. Want to show me pictures you wanted me to?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. She showed
I'm
pictures
assuming
to
it's got a
everybody.
good rack. She said you won't be disappointed.
No, yeah, he's a good buck. Yeah, he's a good buck.
She said, is Stephen on the buck pool? And I said, oh yeah, it's a good one, Stephen.
Yeah, it's a real nice buck.
He looks big too.
And that's mostly pictures. He might make 200. You know me anyway. I second guess, but I don't dare guess what he's gonna weigh.
Is he an 8?
Yep, nice 8.
Now you got him close to a road that we're going to be able to get the snowmobile.
You can take the snowmobile right to him. I got him.
Oh, good.
I want to see this on you.
I'm spent.
No, well, that's we. If you're going with, we shouldn't do it tonight, because we won't get home until 3 a.m. as it is, 3 or 4 a.m. if you think about it. It's gonna be about 7 hours of traveling, just traveling.
Yeah, but don't you?
I know. I don't want the coyote. I know.
We'll get back up there, Stephen. We'll just do it.
All right.
I'll sleep when we get back.
All right. Because yeah, I know. That's why. Because like I said, I would if he was smaller, but he's right on that cusp of being 200 pounds, and I don't want 10 pounds of meat shoot out of him and weigh 190, 191 or something stupid, Yeah,
You should have got in on the buck pool. You probably could have won the buck pool.
With that buck, I know, it's crazy.
I told them, I said the reason why they chose me to be the caretaker of all the money is because I'm goodly. I said I could lie and say Steve gave me $50, but I said I wouldn't do that. Because Mark Serene just told me before he headed, and he's headed to the Adirondacks, so his chance of getting a 200-pound buck is not that good. But he said, did I give you $50? And I said, well, I don't know, but I said, if you didn't, I said, I'll put in $50 and you can pay me back, but I'll put your name in it. But I think there's $650 in the buck pool. And if you'd put it in, it would have been $700.
Yeah. Nope. I got him right, not even 300 yards from where I called that big bull, or where we moved in on that big bull that first Saturday in September. Right there on I walked down about a mile and a half. I jumped over his track the first time I went by it. They got like 14 inches of snow up there. I went in up where I tracked that cow with you. I went up in there and I came back. I was up in there and it was good hunting. I found a beautiful signpost. That signpost was rubbed like a 760 and a half high. Big buck. I cut his track and walked right over the top of it because it was really snowed in, but I think it just gusted in. But it was still a couple hours old, I think. I finished walking down the road and I was coming back up the road, but I didn't want to walk. I was going to walk down along the brook instead because I'd already walked up the road and it just, wasn't much for tracks. And I cut his track again and I was looking at it and I was like, well, it's kind of going the direction I want. So, and I knew once I got in the spruces I'd be able to see what it was better. And I could see it was a good stride and all by itself. I knew it had to be a buck. Well, I get down into the spruces and as soon as he stepped in right underneath one nice spruce perfect, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a decent buck. I didn't track that buck 20 minutes and I jumped him out of his bed. I was taking my gloves off because it was gusty out on the road, but in there it was pretty nice, and I'm thinking, man, this is a pretty nice buck, we might be bedding here. So I'm taking my gloves off and he jumps out of his bed. And he was like 20 yards away when he jumped out of his bed. So I blew at him twice, blew at him as hard as I could, and I got my call out, my grunt tube out, and I grunted at him. but he scampered off. But there's a great big cut on that lower side of the road, just on the other side, just pretty much where I moved in on that moose last year with Timmy and the clients. So I was like, well, if I hurry, I bet I can catch him crossing that cut. So I'm moving pretty fast, faster than I should be if he was right there. And I don't go another 30 yards, and I look, and he's I can just kind of see his outline behind the thicket, like 15 yards away. So I kind of get ready, but I'm like trying to figure out, I can't tell which direction he's facing or which end is which. And he peeks out around it like that, and I could see he had a good main beam outside his ears, and I put it right on his, it was a chip shot. Even just a throat shot was a chip shot at that distance, and I dropped him right there. As soon as I pulled the trigger, I didn't even walk up to him. I started filming myself because I'm like, yeah, I know I got him. I dropped him like that.
Shot him with that?
Yeah, that 300 Savage, yeah. Yep.
Probably I could give you that gun, so
Yeah.
first
Yeah, I know.
big bucks and spread back.
Yeah,
I just started my snowmobile last week, because I started it during the summer, and then last week I thought, you know what, if we get snow, we might need my snowmobile.
Well,
So I started it and ran it.
There's too much snow in spots up there. You have to plow some wind drifts.
Well, we're just
I
gonna
had
have to
about
find a
two
place
trips.
to load it. We're gonna have to bring one of my ramps. I'll bring my smaller ramp, because we'll have to use a ramp to load it.
That's fine. You'll see how much snow there is in the back of my truck.
Brian, I'll see you later. It's 12:30 on the last day of hunting season. Actually, yesterday was the last day of hunting season. We're a half hour over yesterday. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning, so we'll probably be back to Cornville not much off in that. So, but the old Scandic did her work. Steven did his job. Skin a peep sight on the 760 300 Savage. He had a good day.
What's up?
You got anything to say?
Thanks for coming and helping out. Couldn't have done it without you. Or at least it would have been a heck of a lot longer night.
Oh, you got a good buck. I'm proud of you. Last day of hunting season. And especially because you didn't have any bullets for your new Woodman arms, but the Skinner peep sight on that 760 300 Savage worked out good today. One shot, done.
One shot all season, that's all she needed.
That Scandic worked good too. I think that Scandic is ruggeder than I am now. In my younger days,
no
maybe
offense,
not.
I was excited to have you help, but I really needed the snowmobile. Is what I needed.